This video presents the historical development of progressivism in education together with the key thinkers and their respective contributions. Progressivism in education arose in the 19th and the early 20th centuries as a dynamic response to traditional authoritarian models of schooling such as essentialism and perennialism. Rooted in the pragmatic philosophy of John Dewey and shaped by the challenges of industrialization, urbanization, and democratic reform, it emphasized learning by doing, critical thinking, and the development of problem-solving skills. Progressivism sought to make education more experiential, democratic, and socially relevant. Progressivism transformed the classroom from a place of passive reception into a laboratory of experience and cooperation, preparing learners for active participation in a changing and democratic society. Let's start with Francis W. Parker, an American educator and school reformer often regarded as the father of progressive education in the United States. His work developed in response to rigid, authoritarian schooling practices of the late 19th century that prioritized discipline over meaningful learning. Parker laid the foundation for modern progressive education, linking learning with joy, imagination, and individuality. His reforms demonstrated that education could nurture curiosity rather than mere obedience. Parker believed that children learn best when education aligns with their natural interests and experiences, opposing rote memorization and mechanical drills. For him, education should be active, creative, and connected to real life. He promoted freedom, expression, and cooperative learning, encouraging teachers to inspire rather than dictate. The next one is the very famous John Dewey, who is also regarded as the father of progressive education. Dewey's contributions arose during rapid industrialization and social change, when traditional education failed to prepare learners for participatory democratic life. Dewey established the philosophical and practical foundation of progressivism and transformed schools into spaces for social growth. His legacy shaped the experiential learning, critical inquiry, and democratic education worldwide. He believed that knowledge arises from experience and reflection, not from rote memorization. For Dewey, education is learning by doing. The school should be a miniature society where learners engage in problem solving, cooperation, and inquiry with the teacher as a guide and facilitator. The next one is Boyd H. Bode, an American philosopher of education known for extending and systematizing Deweyan progressive thought. He worked during a period of educational transition where schools struggled to balance traditional content with emerging democratic ideals. Bode gave progressivism a theoretical coherence grounded in reflective thought and social responsibility. His work reinforced that education must serve as a laboratory for democracy. He emphasized that thinking and learning are social processes requiring active participation and critical reflection. For him, education should develop democratic habits of thought, questioning, and cooperation. The classroom must be a place where students engage ideas freely and learn to think for themselves. William H. Kilpatrick, an American educator and a close associate of John Dewey. His ideas emerged as a response to mechanical instruction and passive learning prevalent in early 20th century classrooms. Kilpatrick translated Dewey's theory into a method that made progressive education tangible for teachers. His project method continues to influence experiential and interdisciplinary learning. Kilpatrick believed that purposeful activity chosen by the learner leads to the most meaningful learning experiences. For him, education should be organized around student-driven projects that integrate knowledge with real-life application. Learners construct meaning through active participation, inquiry, and reflection. A social reformist in the person of Jane Addams. Her educational views developed amid urban poverty and social inequality brought by industrialization and immigration, linking education to social reform. Addams linked progressive education with social justice, demonstrating that schools can be agents of community empowerment. Her work emphasized education as a moral and civic mission. She saw education as a means to promote democracy, empathy, and understanding among diverse social groups. For her, education should connect students with their communities through service, cooperation, and experiential learning. The classroom then becomes a place for building civic responsibility. Harold Rogge, an American educator and a curriculum theorist, influential in progressive social studies education. He worked during economic depression and global conflict, when education was increasingly seen as a tool for social understanding and reform. Rogge made progressivism more socially conscious by linking it to critical analysis of contemporary life. His curriculum ideas prepared students to question and improve society. Rogge emphasized that education should reflect real social issues and help learners understand the forces shaping their world. For him, education is a tool for democratic renewal, where the integration of social studies curricula is very important to encourage critical thinking, civic responsibility, and moral awareness. George Counts, an American educator and social theorist known for challenging progressive education. His ideas arose during the Great Depression, when economic and social crises exposed limitations of politically neutral education. Counts gave progressivism a reformist edge, turning education into a force for social change. His influence paved the way for later critical and transformative pedagogies. Counts insisted that schools must confront inequality and injustice rather than remain neutral. For him, education should empower students to question, challenge, and rebuild social institutions for a more equitable world. Paulo Freire, a Brazilian educator and philosopher known for his work in critical pedagogy and adult education. His work emerged in contexts of oppression and social injustice, where traditional education reinforced inequality rather than empowerment. Freire transformed progressivism into a philosophy of empowerment and consciousness raising. His pedagogy inspired educators to see learning as a means of liberation and social transformation. Freire viewed education as a dialogical process grounded in reflection, dialogue, and praxis. For him, education should awaken critical consciousness, enabling learners to perceive and act upon social realities. Learning then is a partnership in humanization and freedom. At present, progressivism thrives in child-centered, inquiry-based, and democratic classrooms that value active participation and social relevance. Its influence is clear in experiential learning, integrated curricula, and social-emotional learning frameworks. Progressive ideals continue to shape educational policies that promote equity, inclusion, and lifelong learning in a rapidly changing world. Progressivism redefined education as a living, evolving process of growth, democracy, and social engagement. From Parker's child-centered reforms to Freire's critical pedagogy, it has continuously adapted to the needs of learners and societies in transition. The progressivist tradition reminds us that education must always serve life, such as helping each generation to question, create, and cooperate in shaping a more just and humane world. This has been the historical development of progressivism in education. For more helpful videos in related education courses, you may subscribe to this channel. Thank you in advance.